Good evening and welcome to Times Now Briefing Room. I'm Madhav Das Gopalakrishnan. And viewers, a big development in the Twisha Sharma death case today. Her mother-in-law, Judge Giribala Singh, has been arrested. And investigators have invoked some of the most serious charges linked to dowry death and alleged cruelty within a matrimonial home against Giribala Singh. Now, she's been booked under Section 82 relating to dowry death. Section 85 dealing with cruelty by a husband or relatives toward a woman, and Section 35 involving acts carried out with common intention by multiple accused. In addition, provisions of the Dowry Prohibition Act relating to dowry demand and associated offences have also been invoked against her. Meanwhile, officials tell Times Now that the central agency has slapped dowry death and common intent charges against Giribala Singh, and CBI will produce both the accused, Samarth and Giribala, in court tomorrow to seek their custody for further investigation. Additionally, the CBI has deployed an advanced augmented reality-based system to recreate Twisha's last moments at her in-laws' residence. Now, what are we talking about in terms of the investigation? Because investigators have invoked very serious charges relating to dowry death. As we mentioned, there is Section 82, there's also Section 85, and of course Section 35 involving common intention, and of course acts relating to offences relating to dowry demand and prohibition which have been invoked against her. Now, the Madhya Pradesh High Court has also made a series of explosive observations while cancellation the anticipatory bail granted to retired Judge Giribala Singh. In sharply worded remarks, the High Court has noted that allegations in the case were not limited to just one accused, observing that serious accusations had also surfaced directly against Giribala Singh. The court further pointed to Twisha's chats, which reportedly mentioned that her mother-in-law was raising crucial questions about family environment and she was living in before her death. Now, perhaps most significantly, the High Court also took note of the 6 anti-mortem injuries found on Twisha's body. These are observations that have intensified the concerns surrounding the circumstances leading up to her death. Now, what are we also talking about in terms of the amount of calls that Giribala Singh made on the 12th and the 13th of May? Now, all of this, of course, has found mention as far as the call detail records that has been submitted by the family in their petition before the courts. But look at the number of people that Giribala Singh has called. She has called a district judge. District judge in this particular case is a person by the name of A.K. Mishra. And this particular call to district judge A.K. Mishra, in fact, let's get you the first name in, A.K. Mishra, district judge. And these calls were made on the 14th of May, lasting 10 minutes. There's also a call that has been made to an additional district judge. So not only district judge, there's also an additional district judge who has been called. And this particular judge, whose name is Judge Manoj Kumar, has been called on the 13th of May for 93 minutes. There were 7 calls that were made to this individual. There was also, of course, on the 12th of May, 23 minutes of calls that were made, and that call was made once. There's also Justice Satyendra Singh, who figures in those call detail records, who allegedly spoke for 45 minutes. So there's another judge, Justice Singh, who has been called as well. Now, the big question over here is, why was she repeatedly calling all of these judges? That's a very important question. There's also the Bhopal ADG. So apart from the judges, she is also calling the Bhopal ADG. Very important official here as well. She's also spoken to this individual on 13th of May, 71 minutes, 6 times that calls have been made. There is also a person by the name of Abhay Kumar who has been called 16 minutes in this particular case. There's also Rohit Vishwakarma, the CCTV operator. So why was the CCTV operator being called by this particular judge? What was the specific reason? If there was evidence that was required, surely the police could have come and take it over. Why was it that she was calling the CCTV operator? This call is, we are told, for 16 minutes as well. There is another CCTV operator by the name of Vinod Wani. There is also, of course, another call that has been made to several other officials have been made, but these are some of the names which will show you the seriousness. Was there some kind of attempt at using her influence? Is a very big question indeed. So we'll certainly, of course, look at all of these aspects, but let's also tell our viewers what exactly was going on as far as this particular case is concerned, and let's look at some of the other aspects of the investigation on the day that Giribala Singh has been arrested. As the probe intensifies, the mystery surrounding Twisha Sharma's death continues to deepen. Each new revelation is raising more troubling questions than answers. What happened in the final hour before Twisha died? If this was a suicide, why was there allegedly a delay in taking her to the hospital? What do Twisha's final chats reveal about her state of mind and the environment that she was living in? There are also mounting questions over whether crucial evidence was improperly preserved, whether the post-mortem findings remain under scrutiny, and whom retired Judge Giribala Singh contacted immediately after Twisha's death. Questions that investigators are now expected to examine very, very closely. There's also the allegation of quote-unquote VIP treatment. Now, these are the allegations against Singh by the counsel representing Twisha's father. In a sharp and explosive set of claims, the advocate Anurag questioned the circumstances under which Samarth was allegedly allowed to remain inside court premises behind locked doors. This is even after the judges had left for the day. Srivastav asked under whose authority Samarth was permitted to sit inside the judge's chamber, alleging that the sequence of events raised troubling questions about preferential access and institutional backing. Let's also show you an alleged exchange between a lawyer and a CCTV operator, now under scrutiny in the Twisha Sharma case. This conversation appears to focus on urgently obtaining nearly 3 hours of CCTV footage for police investigation, with repeated references to transferring the material onto a pen drive. Phrases such as police investigation requires this. This is a very urgent matter, and this is a matter of justice, and now raising fresh questions over who was seeking the footage, why it was being accessed so urgently, and what investigators were attempting to establish. So this is, of course, the particular footage that we're talking about. We'll try and play out that particular footage as well, the clip on that as well. But this Twisha Sharma case is now being viewed through an even more disturbing lens, as a series of alleged chats attributed to Twisha paint a deeply troubling picture of emotional distress and isolation inside her marital home. In message after message, Twisha appears to describe a life spiraling into fear, anxiety, and desperation, writing, "I am trapped. My life has become a living hell. Please take me away from here." In one message in particular, which has triggered intense outrage, where she allegedly claims, "He's asking me whose child I am carrying." Those were the kind of messages that were being shared by Twisha before her death. Let's also remind you of the controversial remarks made by retired Judge Giribala Singh about Twisha after her death. From comments about Twisha's personality, lifestyle, mental health, pregnancy, religious practices, to claims about her behavior, critics allege that an attempt is being made to tarnish her image even as the investigation remains underway. Several of these statements have sparked huge amount of online outrage, especially remarks referring to alleged quote-unquote schizophrenic tendencies, withdrawal symptoms, impulsive behavior, and even comparisons involving prostitution. Comments that have reignited the debate around victim blaming, insensitivity, and the ethics of publicly dissecting the character of a deceased woman while the matter remains before the courts. Let's take a quick look at that once again.
See, 5 महीने में तो मुझे तो सतही तौर पे लग रहा था कि that the girl काफी स्वच्छंद विचारों की थी.
Of course, my parents.
इसने क्योंकि उस समय बताया, यस मुझे बच्चे बहुत पसंद है, आई विल हैव एटलीस्ट 4 चिल्ड्रन, अम्मा आई लव दिस, मुझे प्लांट्स बहुत पसंद है. लेकिन सुबह में जैसे वॉक करके आती थी, पौधों पर पानी डाला, वो कभी देखती नहीं थी पौधों की तरफ. ये जो इट वॉज अ कंप्लीट फार्स, इट वॉज अ कंप्लीट नाटक. या तो वो नहीं समझती थी, या उसके अंदर वो जो 2 व्यक्ति हैं वो उसको आड़े आते थे. एक तरफ पौधे अच्छे लगते हैं, एक तरफ बच्चे अच्छे लगते हैं, लेकिन पौधों की देखरेख नहीं करना है, बच्चे नहीं पैदा करने हैं. थोड़ा सा ऑब्जर्व किया, हैंड्स में थोड़ा शिवरिंग था, विच इज टिपिकल ऑफ विड्रॉल सिम्टम. शायद यहाँ आने के बाद जैसे 30 तारीख को आई है उसके बाद उसको दैट सोर्स ऑफ एनी एडिक्शन तो कट ऑफ था ही।
मुझको माफ कर दीजिए, आप लोग बच्चा समझ के माफ कर दीजिए सब लोग।
They were earning out of all her, you know, her looks and everything. वो अर्निंग का साधन तब थी and now I think they are just trying to catch the mileage and earn some more.
And joining us here in our studio is a very special guest. We have with us Mr. Navnidhi Sharma, who's Twisha's father. Mr. Navnidhi Sharma, हमारे साथ जुड़ने के लिए बहुत-बहुत धन्यवाद. Thank you so much for joining us here as far as the studio is concerned. How big a day is this for you, Mr. Navnidhi Sharma? What would you like to describe to our viewers about the ordeal that the family has gone through for the past several weeks?
It was actually it was very tough, and it's a victory of the people, victory of the media, and media has come into our support like our ear, eyes and mouth, and support of the people who are looking for this justice, and because of that, it's a people's victory that today we can say that nobody is above the law, and it's a very, very nice beginning.
Right. But, take us to the ordeal because, even the audio tapes are there of the kind of, very, very shocking comments that are being made by Judge Giribala Singh. Were you at any point scared that this is a judge, a person who's quite influential, that they will not be able to, you'll not be able to take on somebody who's very powerful? Because that's what happens in this country.
Sir, we are common people. We are not afraid of anything, sir. We are afraid of lie. We are afraid of, cheating somebody. We are very transparent family. We believe in the system. We believe in, life. We are not like, like cunning people.
But, at some point of time, when you were hearing all of these very controversial, very, very, some would say highly insensitive comments coming in from Giribala Singh, coming in from Samar, did you not feel at some point of time that we should bring Twisha back? Why should she go through this
already, torture? Sir, already we decided few days before leaving to Bhopal, she had a very good conversation with me, father-daughter conversation, where she revealed her, inside thought. She told me that she will go by consent, she will terminate her pregnancy and then she will come back. And she had the future plan for herself, that her company already, she told that, Papa, I am happy because my company has again called me back and I am rejoining this company, DADB. And I told her that let's start something, we will try our hands in e-trading and something like that. So we were all happy. Actually, she was very dynamic. And she told me that, Papa, don't worry, I am very, I'm not a weak person. I am a very tough person and मैं हार नहीं मानूंगी and I'll come back. She assured me. To come back and restart her life. And I told her, especially, there are a lot of, we do mistakes. We can't figure out ki whatever choice we have made, it will go correct or not. Let it be like that, ki we have made a mistake and we will come out of this very soon.
But I must ask you, one of those messages specifically says that she's being asked whose child she is carrying. That is in one of the WhatsApp messages. There is also, of course, now, High Court has also noted that there are at least 6 ante-mortem injuries. Yeah. What is, in your view, the cause for her to take the extreme step? Was it some kind of physical abuse? Was it some kind of mental torture, these kind of statements that were made? What do you think led her to taking this decision?
For investigation, let me put like this, we regard Supreme Court directives, and because of that, I don't want to interfere in, setting my narrative. But definitely, sir, I can assure you, many more things will come out, sir.
Many more things about the role of Giribala Singh or Samar specifically? And
also, sir, it's a mystery, sir. It is a mystery. Many manipulations will come out. Many fabrication will come out. A lot of things are hidden under the investigation, and we are very hopeful, sir, it will emerge very soon.
Right. You say this is a people's victory in your first comment. That's what you mentioned. And it is a fact. This is a case that is being talked about, from Kashmir to Kerala, from east to west. This is a case that is being talked about. Why do you think this is a case that has touched a chord across India?
Because if you look at the rate, I am receiving messages from young girls, and lot of messages coming to people are trying to approach me and convey me their pain which they are going through and which they went through. All the messages I am reading, and I can tell you very splendidly that it is very alarming, and everybody is looking towards this case as if the solution, as if the remedy from this cluster, from this darkness. Everybody is looking, it's a kind of a ray of hope. And by name of my daughter, Twisha, also reflect, it's a ray of hope, it's the first ray of sun. So it will definitely, cut all the darkness which is under this system into, various agencies which are operating in the name of justice.
It's so interesting to see that you're bringing out such a positivity, so much of positivity, despite the very difficult time that you've gone through, Mr. Navnidhi Sharma, you and your family. I'm going to request you to stay on with us because I also want to bring in two of our panelists who are outside of our studio. We have with us Karuna Nandi, Senior Advocate of the Supreme Court. We also have Shoni Kapoor, who's a men's rights activist. I'd like to thank you both for joining us. And Shoni Kapoor, you've heard the pain of the father. He's still so positive, saying that there are so many girls from across the country who are messaging me regularly that this is the kind of treatment they have to go through. And very clearly, as far as this case is concerned, there are very serious fears about why the FIR was not filed in time, why CCTV footage of the beauty parlor, for instance, which is a stone's throw away from the house, was not collected in time. There are very, very serious fears about whether influence has been used here by at least one of the accused, that is the judge, the retired judge Giribala Singh.
So, Madhav, as much as I have read the judgment, I don't think that anybody in this judgment I can comment upon because I have not been there. I have not seen the bail application, neither have seen the dismissal of bail applications. But what I understand from this is that AB, granting of anticipatory bail, is not granting any acquittal judgment. And dismissal of anticipatory bail is not giving any kind of, indication that the case will end in conviction. Dismissal of anticipatory bail by High Court in this case is based on the circumstances which happened after the grant of anticipatory bail. Giribala went to media with a press conference.
No one wants to second guess what the court is doing. But Shoni Kapoor, you will also agree, having read the judgment, that they mentioned 6 antibiotic injuries. Where did those injuries come from?
See, I don't know. And if you are asking me to pass a judgment on that,
not at all. But it raises a question, is all I'm saying. I'm not asking you to pass any judgment, sir. All I'm saying is we have to go by what is before us. It is for the investigators to do the job. But certainly there are some very serious questions that emerge from this case. You would also agree?
Yes, if there are any serious questions and it emerges that how the bail was granted in the very first instance. If these injuries are now there, they should have been on the very first instance also. Why they were not disclosed in the first postmortem report?
Exactly. And that is why the families demand. Let me bring in Karuna Nandi on that note. Karuna Nandi, what Shoni Kapoor is saying actually is what the family has been saying. They have demanded that there should be a second postmortem. Now AIMS is doing that second postmortem. They have said that there was a delay in the FIR being filed. Now that FIR, of course, was eventually filed. And there are serious questions about the shoddy level of the probe that was carried out initially. It's only after a lot of media outrage and nationwide outrage that finally things have come to this level where Giribala Singh has been taken into custody.
The focus here is on the fact that Giribala Singh used to be a judge. But I think we also should focus on the fact that increasingly, even though crimes against women are increasing, and so greed and dowry and all of that, it doesn't appear to be, there are pockets in which it's going down, and there are people who are marrying without dowry, etc. And there are women who are standing up for themselves and their families who are standing up for them. But there is a huge amount of cruelty in the first few years of marriage in particular, and cruelty related to dowry, that is there on the one hand. And on the other hand, we see that the rates of acquittal and the prejudice, huge prejudice in particular sections of the police and the judiciary. And to be fair, the police are registering the cases at a fairly high rate. But the acquittal rate we see is in part because of the widespread influence of this idea, the MRAs, that the MRAs have spread in particular, but the widespread influence of the idea that most cases are false, right? Now, there is no doubt that a few cases are false, that some cases are false, but there are also some cases that are false in the context of cheating in contracts, or in other kinds of cases. So why in these kinds of cases do we have this massively disproportionate rate of acquittal? In fact, the Solicitor General said, Mr. Tushar Mehta had said in court, in the Supreme Court, he said it's better to have a divorced daughter than a dead daughter.
Right.
So this huge outcry that we see from the country, are we only going to see it in cases where there is this kind of really sad and brutal death? Or are we also going to see it before the girl has died, when she is being harassed for the dowry, when she is being subjected to the kind of cruelty that would drive a normal person to suicide?
Shoni Kapoor, you want to answer that? I think that's a very, very good question. At the end of the day, yes, I'm just going to paraphrase what you said. As far as the Solicitor General is concerned, a divorced daughter is better than a dead daughter. It's high time that a society looks at this. And also when it comes to law, there may certainly be few people who are misusing a law. But the law is there for a purpose, because there is a social evil, and it is a fact that there's huge amount of atrocity that happens in our society, even today, Shoni Kapoor, unfortunately.
Madhav, I just want to reiterate a few things, and I want to put some things in perspective. So first of all, the FIR, which I believe mentions that there was a demand of 2 lakh rupees at the time of marriage. My question is, why did the family get the woman married at that point of time when there was a demand of dowry? So if you think that demand of dowry should be fulfilled at the very first instance, that is the wrong notion, because blackmailing, if any, or any kind which can be stopped, it as the very first instance, it cannot be stopped at any subsequent event. Secondly, I had done a research in Delhi courts, and I found that out of 10,000 cases, nearly 10,000 cases, only 23 ended in conviction. That is 0.24% conviction rate. And there are 22 judges which are handling these cases. 22 judges, 22 courts coming to a conviction of 23 people only. We have to understand that there is massive number of cases of dowry harassment which are being filed false, and just to extort money, and just to arm twist the husband and their family into meeting certain demands.
Okay, I want just a quick response from Karunanidhi on that. Karunanidhi, once again coming to this question, and also the fact that what does it say about the level of what the lower courts have done? If they have granted anticipatory bail and the High Court of course overturns that order, what does it say about the influence and the kind of process that has been followed at the level of the lower court?
The High Court was quite clear, it seems, about the reason at which it was quashing the order for anticipatory bail. As you quite correctly pointed out, the fact that there were such serious ante-mortem injuries. Now, what does ante-mortem mean? It means injuries before the young woman died. So there were injuries to her elbow. There were all these injuries that would not have come normally when her body was being moved. They also recorded the fact that despite being given the cover of anticipatory bail, that Ms. Giribala Singh did not join investigation. Now, those of us who practice criminal law, as soon as the protection is given, the person goes and joins the investigation. Now, the police, she said that she got the WhatsApp message and then she went to Jabalpur. Then why did she go to Jabalpur? I mean, cancel your trip to Jabalpur and just go and join the investigation, right?
There are many questions. There are many questions about whether there's a sense of entitlement, what really has happened. But Mr. Navnidhi Sharma, I'd like you to comment on this. You've heard the debate, you've heard all the panelists, but there are many questions. One is about the use of the law. because there are very few convictions, why do we need such a law? Secondly, there are also questions about whether that money was paid. Why was it paid in the first place? Because there is always the possibility of blackmail. What would you say to those who make that argument? This is Navnidhi Sharma.
Yes.
Question for you, sir.
Sorry, sir.
No, my simple question is, they are asking about the low conviction rate when it comes to such dowry cases.
Yeah.
And there's also, of course, a second question about 2 lakh rupees were paid initially, right?
Yeah.
So why were those 2 lakh rupees paid? Because any money paid can lead to further blackmail or harassment, is the argument that one of the panelists made. How would you like to respond to these 2 points and your future expectations?
Actually, what happens, the word dowry is not used anytime. There are a lot of ways to extract the money. In the narrative of expenses, in the narrative, various narratives. And a father is always prepared for these kind of expenses when, it comes to the daughter's life, because it was daughter's choice. If my daughter was at the time of marriage, she was actually ready to refuse this marriage. And I was also convinced, but later on, somehow people made us understand that, okay, no, it is nothing like that.
Okay.
And daughter also then carried on. It was not like that ki we are the family who believes in this system of dowry, but dowry has changed its language. But it comes in a way of expenses, in gifts, in various methods. Indirect methods are there.
Well, it's part of our society, unfortunately, and of course, high time that there are stricter laws and that there is an exemplary punishment to those who, make these kinds of demands, particularly those who engage in any kind of cruelty, whether it's physical, mental, social, etc. We'll have to leave it there. I'd like to thank you, Mr. Navnidhi Sharma, for joining us, as well as Karuna Nandi and also Shoni Kapoor for joining us on the show this evening.